Hey guys, my name's Ant, and today we're going to be going over some super useful tips and tricks for combat in Dragon Age the Veilguard. These tips are for people who are just starting out their playthrough, maybe having some trouble with some of the harder encounters in the game. But in saying that, getting better at these things helps your mid and end game combat as well. So without further ado, let's jump into tip number 1. The parry mechanic, although a little annoying to understand, is a big game changer when it comes to most enemy encounters. There will be this indicator above the enemy's head that flashes white, which I believe is the indicator to begin the hit, or at least when they're going to hit, and then it will turn yellow, which I believe is the parryable window. This is never explicitly explained, but that's just the feeling I get when I'm trying to parry. The reason parries are so game-changing is the knockback and stagger effects it creates on your enemy. This can give you time to heal, create some distance, or completely go to town on them. Alternatively, if the enemy is a named enemy or a larger enemy like the ogre in Arlethan Forest, this can also disrupt some of their change attacks, meaning less chance of getting hit repetitively. Another addition to this is the skills that your classes get that align with the parry ability. For the rogue, it is the riposte, I believe, and for the warrior, it is the counterblow. I'm yet to play the mage, and it doesn't seem like the mage has an ability for this. If I'm wrong, please do let me know. Either way, this lets you land a large blow in retaliation after the deflect is successful, and this can cause a decent amount of damage itself, and once again leave your enemy staggered for you to do with what you wish. Having a little bit more of a read, it looks like the mage has dodge abilities, so maybe that's a thing. It makes sense for a longer ranged character. So either way, start trying to learn this parry, and you can change the deflection timing in the menu if you are really struggling with it. And trust me, this will help your overall combat immensely. Now, 95% of the enemies you encounter in Dragon Age the Veilguard will reappear for most of the game, and a good habit to form whilst playing is to start learning their movesets, timings, and weaknesses right from the word go. For the Darkspawn, we know they group together, so lead with the area effect or combo. The ogres mostly hit 3 times in a row, so account for that. They also have a jumping attack that does area damage if you're too far away, so make sure to watch out for that one. The constructs have side-to-side hits that are parryable, and downward hits from above their heads that aren't. They also mostly do their heavy attack after blocking, so we should be able to read this, parry, and get good damage. Building up this knowledge base slowly as you fight through each encounter will help you when it comes to those longer drawn out battles. Learning their weaknesses, not just in type advantage, but in how they attack, their different area attacks, and when's a good time for you to move in an attack is a big thing when it comes to combat. And this will help you deal with the smaller guys quicker so you can focus on the big guys, but also help you deal with the big guys so that those bigger encounters aren't things that you spend 4 or 5 hours on. In Dragon Age the Veilguard, there is a stagger mechanic that can come in clutch during most battles. Hit an enemy enough and it will gain stagger. The purple bar above its name is the stagger bar. When that bar fills, the enemy will be staggered, and Rook will be able to do a special move on it that deals a bunch of damage. But it's not always a kill though. One thing you'll notice is while this option to initiate the stagger hit is open, the enemy will not move. So instead of pushing the button for that prompt the second you see it, take the time. That's all free times you can get free hits in. You can cause severe damage, especially if you can get some vulnerabilities in there before you hit that stagger. Taking your time to get these hits can be the difference between the enemy surviving this stagger and the enemy dying. Another thing to mention about the stagger quickly is that whilst you're doing this, you are invincible. So if you're in a bad situation and you see this available, utilize it. Run to it and utilize it. Or just mash that button, see if you can get it. Right, this one seems like a cheap hint, but trust me, it is massive. The ranged enemies in this game are a problem, and at higher levels of difficulty can be the key factor in the loss of an encounter. Try to use your companions to focus on the melee characters while you dodge off and deal with some of the range. There's nothing worse than trying to fight one enemy and you've got javelins or spears or magic spells flying in from every angle. You're just constantly dodging and you're not able to get a hit in. And if you're not able to get a hit in, you're not going to win the encounter. So deal with these guys, trust me. Once you've dealt with the range, you can then focus on the melee characters and not have to worry about dodging those projectiles every 2 seconds. Before we move on to tip number 5, if you have any tips of your own for things that have helped you in combat, please leave a comment underneath so we can share the tips around. Combat in this game can be brutal at times, and all the knowledge we can get is helpful. Anyway, here is number 5. Dragon Age the Veilguard, you have many resources available for combat. You have Rook's abilities, you have your companion's abilities, you have their attack my target, you have your runes, and you also have combos. Make sure to read through the abilities you have selected and try to keep calm during a battle and actually utilize them as best as you can. Some companions' abilities do increase damages to barriers, so use that when facing a barrier enemy. Some abilities trigger different damage types, so match those with the vulnerabilities given by companions attack my target. For instance, my rogue rook would get necrotic weapons from a final attack killing blow. Match that with Lucanus's attack my target, which gives necrotic vulnerability, and there is a decent increase to damage. Whilst looking at this, knowing that they also have that necrotic vulnerability, we can then use Lucanus's abilities to deal even more necrotic damage. This can help with bosses. This can be a boss shredder. This can help with all enemies realistically. And some of those bigger enemies that have got those shields, those barriers, you can shred those shields super quickly. You can shred those barriers super quickly and get in there to do actual damage to defeat the enemy. Now, I know most of these seem like pretty simple things to do, and nothing is really game breaking here. When you are first starting out, it can be hard to remember what to focus on, and these things are definitely a good start on your path to mastering, or at least improving with combat in Dragon Age. Well, thank you for watching, and I do hope this helps you in some way, shape, or form. And until next time, enjoy your gaming.
All right, break's over.